Practice, thank you. Right. Ooh, turn the volume down. Right, good evening everyone and welcome to this meeting of the Performance Management Scrutiny Committee. My name is Councillor Mick Radley and I'm the chairman. Members, please can I remind you that this meeting is being broadcast to the public via the Council's YouTube channel. As we move through the meeting, please can I remind everyone present to turn off their microphones when they're finished speaking. I shall now proceed with the business of the meeting. So item 1 is apologies for absence. So do we have any apologies for absence from members of the Performance Management Scrutiny Committee?
We have 2 apologies, Chairman, from Councillor Unsworth and Councillor Dervish, but I haven't been made aware of any others, and as far as I can see, everyone else is present.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that. If there are no more apologies, then I'll move to item 2, which is declarations of interest. Do members have any disclosable pecuniary interest or other pecuniary interest or non-pecuniary interest that they wish to declare this evening? Please state the item and the nature of your interest. I see none tonight, so thank you for that. For no more declarations, I'll proceed to item 3, which is minutes of the previous meeting. Please can I have a proposer to approve the minutes as an accurate record of the previous meeting of the Performance Management Scrutiny Committee on the 2nd of February 2022, which is our budget meeting.
Move, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. A seconder? Yeah, Councillor Rose. All those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. The minutes are approved. Moving on then to item 4, which is public question time. Members, I can confirm that there are no registered speakers for this evening's meeting. Members will now proceed to agenda item 5, which is the second quarter performance report for 2021-22. Members, the report for this item is set out on pages 5 to 37 of your agendas. And please can I invite Tracy Headford, Business Solutions Manager, to present the report to the committee. So Tracy, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. So the second quarter performance management report demonstrates the performance of the Council between the 1st of July and the 30th of September 2021. It does seem quite a while ago, but the way obviously the Cabinet meetings have fell with the Performance Management Scrutiny Committee, this is the first time that we're actually able to present it to you. It's also worth noting that the second quarter performance report is the last report that's reports against the annual plan for 2020-2021. That was extended for 6 months to take account of where we were at so that we could get a new 18-month plan in place from October. So this is the last one that reports against the projects and performance indicators in that plan. So in the second quarter, restrictions were starting to lift and we were making good progress in delivering a number of the actions that we had in the plan, obviously taking advantage of the extension that we had. So as at the end of the second quarter, there were 27 projects that were complete, 24 projects were on track, 2 projects had an amber status, mainly due to construction delays which pushed back dates of projects, mainly in respect of the pedestrianisation of the town centre and the Victoria Square development. In respect to the performance indicators, 7 of the performance indicators met or exceeded their target. 2 performance indicators missed target by 5%, less than 5%, and 4 performance indicators missed target by more than 5%. As the new plan was taking effect from October 2021 through to March 2023, any projects that were not completed at the end of September were either going to be carried forward for delivery into the new plan, which is called Bouncing Back Together, or will continue to be delivered through business as usual activity. So we have, if you needed any updates, we would still be able to get them for you. So I'll just highlight some of the key achievements in the second quarter that were noted at Cabinet. So in the second quarter, they delivered a further 99 affordable homes, bringing the total for that up end of the half year to 190. The redevelopment of the entrance to Witham Town Park was complete, providing improved accessibility in public realm. The climate change strategy and cycling strategy were unanimously agreed at full council. The council started the new community tree bulb planting scheme. They adopted the Coggeshall neighbourhood plan following a positive referendum. That now brings our total number of neighbourhood plans to 5. And I think it's quite important for Coggeshall is quite a historic, one of our most historic important villages that we have. It's got over 200 listed buildings, and obviously that's going to help to protect the village's historic heritage. There are a further 8 plans that are going through the process at the moment. The main infrastructure was completed to Horizon 120, providing 2 access roads from the A131 and a central spine road. The business park is also connected to power, data, water, sewage and gas, and obviously the landscaping was also completed at that time. We brought back the street markets to Braintree Town Centre at the end of the summer. It was hugely popular, and obviously they will then continue to take place on a monthly basis. And our leisure centres across the district were able to increase their capacity in line with the phased approach to opening up, so they're able to increase their participation levels. So they're the main points I kind of wanted to pull out from the report. There was obviously information on the staffing, health and safety and the complaints. In respect to the complaints, in the second quarter there were 185 complaints. That is higher than the first quarter. They're mainly in respect of operations service and in respect of missed bins. Moving on to the financial performance, the report provides a very detailed updated review of the financial position as at the end of the second quarter. It examines the latest forecasts on the spending on the day-to-day spend compared to the budget for the year. It also includes a summary of the Treasury management activities, projected movements on the general fund balance and a summary of the spend to date on the capital projects, and it also includes an update on the financial impacts arising out of the pandemic. So just to give you a summary, the budget position forecast for the year at the end of the second quarter was a positive variance of 383,000. The estimated impact of the pandemic on the budget was 915,000. Obviously that is expected to be offset by any government funding, so it should leave us with a balanced position. The forecast position regarding the base budget is a positive variance of 383,000, and then after taking into account other planned movements in balances, projected change in the general fund, unallocated balances, there's a reduction of 253,000. There was expenditure of just over 15.5 million on the capital projects during the first half of the year. The spend has mainly been incurred on the Horizon 120 Business Park. In respect of the infrastructure, which I've said obviously is now completed. The new Horizon 120 Enterprise Centre, iConstruct, the Manor Street Regeneration Scheme, Town Centre Improvement and the Housestead Leisure Centre Artificial Grass Pitch. I'm going to leave it there. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour through that second quarter, but obviously the third quarter is probably going to override a lot of what we've said anyway, so but I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Tracy, for that. So I'll just open it up to questions. So any members have questions? Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. I have one question regarding the two projects which shows amber status. What was the adverse effect on the finances of them pushing back and the delays in constructions? Have we penalised the construction companies for delaying the project at all at this stage, or any negotiation have been made with them?
I'll have to take that one back and find out because I don't have the information to hand. I do know that delays were not caused by the construction companies per se. It was more the fact that we had delays in getting the materials, which a lot of people were impacted by at the time because of the climate and obviously the economic situation that was going on regarding the EU exit at the time. So I'll take that question back if that's okay, and I will provide an answer to everybody in writing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Sphere.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to comment on the projects. I think, considering the circumstances and what we've been through, to the fact that out of 27 projects that we've got 24 projects on track is actually a testament to that not only what officers are doing, but actually how well all of our contractors under the circumstances too are doing, because I think achieving this is no mean feat. I'm also pleased to see the financial position in the quarter as well. I think that's well under control. And again, you know, well done to the officers and everybody concerned, and no doubt some cabinet members as well are involved in this. But you know, again, an example of 190 affordable homes is delivering exactly what we want across the district. So you know, and the climate and cycling strategies are being passed, and we've got 5 neighbourhood plans, 8 underway. Lots of good information and certainly good figures, and I think it just shows the dynamism of Brentford District Council and how, under these circumstances, we're doing extremely well. Thank you.
Okay, any further? Yes, Councillor Everard. Your microphone, Councillor Everard.
Oh, I thought I did put it on, but my fingers not strong enough. A lot of the developers really dictate what we get. Is that true?
So is that in respect to the developers dictate what we have?
We had 190 come over, but to a certain extent, we're dependent on what the developers give us.
To a certain extent, yes, but obviously with any major developments that are undertaken or that we give permission for, we will negotiate the Section 106 heads of terms, and within that there will be a percentage of affordable homes that they have to provide. So we will look at the needs. There's a lot of needs that go on. So there's like health provision, there'll be education provision, there'll be even highways provision, and a lot of that as well as around sort of like the affordable homes provision. So they will negotiate, obviously, if they don't want to provide as many, but 9 times out of 10 we will get what we need for the districts within those Section 106 negotiations.
Okay. But it's still slow coming over.
It can, yeah. There's a lot of negotiations that go on, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Rose.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, brilliant report, as always, Tracy. There's a lot of work going into that, I'm sure, so well done. I wonder if I could just draw your attention to page 19. I'm sure it's just a typo, where it says, you have a look, I lost it now. Transport consultant has been appointed. Negotiations start with Essex County Council concerning adoption of Hall Road. So H-A-U-L. Should it be H-A-L-L? I don't know a Hall Road in Hatfield, Beverham. That's the...
Is that in the Q2 report?
The 6th box down, yeah. The promoting prosperity, page 19.
Page 19?
Yes. It's the
I believe that might be in the Q3 report, but nonetheless it's still a valid comment.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I'll get that corrected. Thank you.
Yeah. So you're not covering this point at the moment, Chairman. I'll jump.
Okay, Q3 report is the next item, but
Okay.
but by all means point out. Yeah, I'm sure Tracy's
I've done a couple of items, but I'll raise it later then.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I think Tracy's already taken a note of it, so it's fine.
Yeah, I've taken a note.
All right. Thank you. Don't want to be picky. It just I don't remember it.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd just like to echo Councillor Sphere's comments that it's when you get a reflection like that of summarising some of the items that have been completed that does, a good reflection upon a lot of good stuff that's been done during that period and leading up to that period, and also under not easy circumstances as well. So I'd echo those comments. Okay, so thank you, members. Are there any other questions? I don't think we have. No. So if there are no further questions for Tracy, I'll be seeking members' agreement that this report is noted. Therefore, silence will be assent. Please can I confirm that members have noted the report? Your silence is assent. Thank you for that. So the report has been noted, and thank you, Tracy, for your report and the responses for the questions raised. We'll now proceed with item 6, which is the third quarter report for 2021-22. Members, for this report, the item is set on pages 38 to 70 on your agendas. So can I invite once again Tracy to present the report to the committee?
Thank you, Chair. Just following on from what Councillor Rose has pointed out, I think actually in that report, the quarterly reports have actually been swapped round. So the quarter 3 report is actually first, and the quarter 2 report's second. So we'll have to get them swapped back round. So it should have been the second report. So I didn't realise that, Jess, if you're able to pick that up for me. So, just moving on then. So third quarter performance management report demonstrates the performance of the council between the 1st of October and the 31st of December, so a little bit more timely. It was presented tonight to inform you as the performance of the council following its presentation at Cabinet on the 14th of March, so a couple of weeks ago. So this is the first report reporting against the new Bouncing Back Together document, and it will reflect on the progress of the actions required to help our district to recover and grow over the next few years. So, as at the end of the third quarter, but the first quarter for this report, we've got 2 projects that are complete with 51 projects that are on track. 10 projects do have an amber status. The reason mainly is due to supply chain issues on some of our larger projects, which ultimately does push back end dates. There are some other reasons around sort of resourcing and prioritising workloads. In respect to performance indicators, 8 of them met or exceeded target, 3 performance indicators missed target by less than 5%, and 2 performance indicators missed a target by more than 5%. We have got commentary within the report. I won't go through every single part of it, but if there's anything that anybody wants to point out at the end of the report, I'm happy to go through that for you. So just to highlight some of the key achievements in the third quarter that were mentioned at Cabinet. We have a High Street improvement scheme that was launched in December 2021 to improve the look and feel of shop fronts on our high streets. The grants cover the cost of labour up to a value of £1,000 and support practical measures such as cleaning, general exterior repairs and renovation. And we've had quite a high number of expressions of interest and applications being received. We successfully delivered the Braintree Christmas Lights Switch On. That was the first big event that we held that made the use of the new pedestrianised area. There was over 50 market stalls and there was some live festive entertainment. There were a number of successful campaigns launched over the Christmas period to encourage residents to reduce waste and increase recycling. And obviously the climate change strategy, although it was agreed in the second quarter, it was actually launched in the third quarter to coincide with the COP26 week. And we had a number of climate change action videos that demonstrated how businesses, residents, schools, community groups and individuals were working to tackle climate change across our district. And we also had a successful creative climate change challenge where the schools produced artwork to show how they feel about climate change, and a lot of that is all available to see on our website, and it's really good, quite good. We've worked with parish councils, town councils, schools, community and voluntary groups around the district to plant our native trees and bulbs across the district. So that's a total of 18,700 trees and 73,000 bulbs. We've increased our number of passenger journeys to our elderly and more vulnerable residents, assisting them to take them to the vaccination appointments, delivering food parcels as well as shopping and social activities. So that's an increase that we've been looking forward to being able to engage with our elderly and vulnerable a little bit more, because that service obviously was restricted during the pandemic. We've worked with Community 360 to provide activities and nutritious meals to more than 440 children, supporting their families during the winter school holidays. We've distributed a Here to Help newsletter to over 800 residents, providing information on activities and services in the area. And that included things like seated exercise, scams, contacts, helplines, befriending services, mental health services, home safety, our handyman scheme. There was quite a few initiatives that were and details of services that was in that newsletter. iConstruct, which was our £2.3 million Centre of Excellence for Construction and Innovation, opened for business. And we had a Love Braintree District Shop Local campaign, which was launched in December to help encourage shoppers to support independent businesses in the run-up to Christmas. And feedback from businesses said that it was very successful for them, and they do believe that the campaign made a difference for them, which is brilliant to hear. We had 2 additional business adaptation grants delivered, which provided £479,000 to businesses that applied for the grants in time for Christmas. We were able to offer these additional grants mainly due because other local authorities declined the funding, so we took advantage of the funding and we provided it to those businesses, so we're not going to turn funding down. And in respect of affordable homes, there was a further 111 delivered in the third quarter, so we've actually achieved just over 300 year to date now, so we're on 301, which is fantastic because we average around 250 for a year, so we're over and above what our ballpark figure is at the moment. So as in the other reports, we do have information on the staffing, the health and safety and the complaints. In respect to staffing, just want to point out to you that our sickness levels are starting to creep up a little bit. However, they are still low. They're on the low side. We're still under our targets. And we've been told in comparison to the private sector, they are still very, very good. And we've still had, at the end of the third quarter, over 60% of our staff that have not had any sick leave in the year. So that's excellent. And just moving on to the complaints are also really, really good for the end of the quarter. We've only had 91 complaints, which is the lowest that we've had in a quarter for a very long time. We're still looking into the reasons as to why that might be, but we did change some of our tact around how we communicated out with residents around missed bins and the crews and saying what a fantastic job they were doing over the Christmas period. So people, where they might have thought, oh, they've missed my bin, were actually thinking, I'm quite lucky my bin is being collected, because neighbouring authorities at the time were hit by some resource issues. So we're experiencing some issues. So I think, you know, they were quite grateful to the operations service, and they did get a lot of compliments over that time as well. So we'll see if that carries on working. In respect to the financial performance, just to take you through the summary. So again, taking into account the projected impacts on COVID and the variations we've made to the base budget, the net position for the forecast for the year is a positive variance of 699,000. The estimated budget impact for the pandemic is 868,000. Again, as I've said before, it's expected to be offset by the funding that's received from government. So it should leave us with a balanced position. The proposals for the 2022-2023 budget included 367,000 of savings, and they're reflected in the projected outturn as they're considered to be ongoing. So after taking account other planned movements in balances, the projected change in the general fund balance is an increase of 191,000. There was expenditure of just over 20 or just under 22 million on capital projects up to the end of December. Again, spending mainly incurred on the Horizon 120 Business Park, the new Horizon 120 Enterprise Centre, iConstruct, Manor Street Regeneration Scheme, Town Centre Improvements and House and Leisure Centre. So the same areas as what we've had in the previous reports. They're still ongoing because they are major capital projects. So I'll leave it there. Like I said, happy to take any questions.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Right. Yes.
Just a little question.
Councillor Everard.
Well, first of all, thanks for that comprehensive report, because it's very informative. I was going to say, the activities for children during their holidays, very important. And now I know Community 360 is involved. How many other organisations are involved? I'm sure there are many others. Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but yes, there probably are some other organisations,
Yeah.
but they're mainly coordinated by
Are they
Community 360.
do, yeah.
So they will do all the coordination and make sure everything is run up. So there'll be volunteers, obviously a lot of volunteers involved, and there will be other community groups and obviously organisations that will take part and assist. But I can find some information out for you if that's what
Please,
you'd like.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's very important.
Okay, fantastic. Anybody else have any questions? Yes, Councillor Caudle.
Thank you, Chairman. Tracy, this may be you might be the wrong person to ask, but I've had various constituents write to me about tree planting, and you mentioned, well, the report mentions tree planting, but I think it's 18,700, or anyway, lots of trees. Several of the letters said it's all very well planting these trees, but are they being watered? And does anyone note how many survive the first year? Because there's an initiative now to give us all even more trees, and I noticed lots of the parish councils are planting trees as well. Are we ever told how many trees die? Because we have planted gazillions, haven't we? And I've noticed driving around sort of trees that have been ring-barked by rabbits or deer or everything, and then they're just sort of looking dead, basically. I mean, some of them are still alive, but does anyone record how many actually survive? Because it's all very well sticking them in the ground, and they aren't going to turn into proper grown-up trees. It's a bit of a waste of time. I mean, sort of just virtue signaling.
Yeah, I totally understand. When obviously we provide those trees to the community groups or the town councils or parish councils or the schools, it's their responsibility to obviously care for those trees that they are planting. So they ask, we're not giving out thousands to them, they will say how many packs they wanted. Right. And it is their responsibility to then take care, nurture and nourish and water those those bulbs and those trees. Not every tree will take effect regardless of the care, I guess, that they are going to be providing them. And obviously any trees and bulbs that the council then planted themselves on any of our parks and open spaces, we have that responsibility of maintaining and making sure that they will flourish and grow. So I very much doubt we are taking note of the numbers that aren't progressing, but I can certainly find out if there is anything that we're doing to sort of monitor it.
I just wasn't trying to be difficult, but it just seems, it's lovely to plant trees, but it's futile if they just keel over after a few weeks. And as the Performance Management Committee, I thought, how are we performing on the tree front, especially as I've had some very nice letters, one or two quite potty letters about it. So I thought, in order to write back, I might actually raise the issue here. But thank you.
Yeah, I'll see what I can find out for you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, perhaps we get feedback, certainly from the Braintree ones, perhaps. The parish is perhaps a bit more difficult because we don't have responsibility, as you say. But yes.
Sorry. Am I?
Yeah, you've got your right.
Okay. On tree planting, I remember in the we had a big drought sometime, and I instigated some tree planting in a particular street, and I managed to get all the locals to water all these trees to get them going. But I'd be very interested in knowing how you monitor all this. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Yes, Councillor Sphere next, yeah.
Can I just ask Tracy, you mentioned in your report about 2 targets were missed by more than 5%. Were they easily identifiable, and do you know the reasons why they missed those targets by 5%?
I do. I'll just get to the page. So they're the usual suspects, if I'm honest. So the ones that are missing target by more than 5%, the first one is the recycling rates. We all know that the rate that or the target that we've attributed to that is the one from the Essex waste recycling strategy. So that is at 60%. So that is one of the reasons why we have not hit that target. It's still an aspirational target. We'd still love to be able to achieve that. We've also got to take into account winter. We do suspend the garden waste as well, so it would always be low in the winter because there isn't as much garden waste produced, but because we suspend that service, the figures are always lower during that quarter because that comes into play beginning of December, sometimes end of November. And the second one, it is, find it. So that's in respect of the waiting times for the disabled facilities grants. So that has actually come down. So the first quarter was 211 days, the second quarter was 205 days, and in the third quarter it's 180 days. So they have been quite hugely impacted by the pandemic and the fact that we couldn't have people going into properties to do a lot of the assessments. So a lot of the grants did get held up, and a lot of the building works have been held up as a result of that. Waiting times are reducing. The teams are working through a lot of the applications, and we don't have as much of a backlog any longer on respect of those applications. And it's just mainly the delays are caused by they're more sort of vulnerable people that they're going to visit, so they've got more of a need to isolate. So they're sometimes also quite, they're quite apprehensive sometimes about letting people into their properties as well. So there have been a majority of different factors that have contributed towards those delays, but I understand that we're still one of the best performing authorities with regards to the disabled facilities grants in the district. So it's around us now making sure that we're getting those appointments scheduled with those people that we need to obviously get out and see. During that, obviously, that last quarter, there was the risk of the Omicron variant as well, and we didn't really understand. We knew it was more highly transmissible, so again, that was what was causing a lot of the delays as well, because people just sort of saying, I'll put that off a couple of months rather than going in and getting it done. All of the emergency works, like putting in stair lifts and things like that, were completed because we know that they were needed to help improve their quality of life. But we're talking more where they might need to do more works to sort of convert bathrooms into wet rooms. So the work that takes a little bit more time, that's where the delays were being incurred.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? I've got a couple of questions while you're having a think about that. I guess one of the things that strikes me when we look at the projects, a lot of these are progressing well, and we've got green on there, but there's no indication as what the target is against these projects. I believe I seem to remember previously there were targets set, and therefore you could then monitor the performance. I'll give a classic example of that, and close to home, and Councillor Rose as well, the town centre regeneration for Halstead and Whittam. That project has been delayed for a long time for various reasons. It's now back on the agenda as something that's happening. I know some of the actions that have taken place recently, but there's no target on there or no commitment on these objectives of when that is actually going to be delivered. And that's just one example. If you scan through these, you can see when things have taken place, but against the objective, I don't know, I can't see what that objective is, to know whether it's good or bad, quite frankly. And so I think that's an overall comment against all of them, although I'll pick one specific example. So I don't know if you have any comment on that.
So, are you talking mainly in respect of like the target date to get the projects completed?
Yes, absolutely. For example, again, I'll go back to the Halstead and Whittam. You know, what is the date when that is going to be project is going to be completed and delivered? From these reports, I can't see that, or we can't see that, and that's a concern to me, particularly knowing that there has been targets in the past and it slipped several times. So from a performance management point of view, I think it's important for us to see and understand what those targets are.
I'll get them included in the future reports for you.
Please,
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Yes.
Yes, just adding on to that, Chairman, I don't know if Tracy can answer or not really, but the regeneration, especially of Halstead and Whittam, I can only speak for Whittam as I'm a Whittam member, but a lot of the problem seems to be the delay, Tracy, is the negotiation with Essex Highways. They seem to... Braintree have probably got every good intention of completing the work, but they don't quite have, Essex County Council don't quite have the same priority on their listing. So do we push them? Do they report back to us, or do we just wait for them to come back? Because Whittam is rather unique, because if the A12 was blocked, everything comes through Whittam. So there's not an awful lot you can do like pedestrianisation, like you've done at Braintree, which is brilliant. But with Whittam, when you read the reports, we always seem to be waiting for the Essex County Council to report back. Would I be wrong, or am I being a little bit cruel there, Tracy?
Yes, obviously I can't comment 100% on in respect to that, but obviously that's what the comments do state, is that we are waiting for Essex County Council. I think there was an update actually provided at the recent cabinet meeting around the works that are being proposed to Whittam and Housestead. So I know that the officers involved in those projects do meet with Essex County Council on a regular basis to discuss the works and the improvements that are ongoing in those areas. So they are regularly meeting. They are obviously discussing any delays that are being brought about by Essex County Council and trying to chivvy them on to make sure that these do get done. And they know our timescales. It is something. It's work in progress, building up those relationships and getting those partnership working done. And I guess maybe we just need to understand a little bit better what those delays are around Essex County Council, so that we can maybe factor those into the report rather than just sort of saying delays with Essex County Council. We can actually maybe have a look and say what those delays are with Essex County Council, if that provides a little bit more information. But
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks, Joe.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Raymond.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question or comment. Thank you so much for the report. It's very enhancing in detail. We seem to achieve a lot of the projects. That's really good to see. I have a question on business rate collections. As I can see, there is an amber status on the collection of council tax for the houses and the business rates. I can see there is an increase in every quarter. We do not have the figures for the fourth quarter, but as due to the pandemic, many of the businesses suffered and was not able to operate normally. Is there any plan or support in place for the local businesses? How are they going to meet? As I can see in the reports, there is a difference. Is there any support in place for the businesses to repay or adjust their balances, remaining of the balances for the business rates?
I don't know if there's any specific schemes in relation to business rate payments, but obviously they have received, there's a number of grants that would help support them in around their businesses and the bills that they need to pay, etc. So a number of the grants would help in their financial situations. With regards to the collection rates of business rates, yes, that's obviously reporting cumulatively, so that is where we're at. And those targets that are set are pre-pandemic targets. We didn't purposely change those targets because we wanted to see how we'd compare. Interestingly, what we do is they will have collections will happen over and above this year. So even when this year is finished and we know what the collection rate stands at as at the 31st of March, the departments do continue on both council tax and business rates, continue to collect anything that is still owed to the council in previous years. And so we do tend to see that rise and achieve its target, just not in the timescales of that 1 year. So we do allow more time for businesses and for residents if they do need it to pay their council tax. So that's the kind of support that we can offer, and we would always encourage any businesses or residents to come and get in contact with the Revenues Department so that they can discuss, any support that they do need or difficulty that they're having in with regards to any payments. But like we say, they have had sort of reliefs provided to them in respect of their council tax and business rates. And we've got the £150 one that's being produced for council tax next year in April. So we might need to have a look at reflecting that in our targets perhaps, so that it's more reflective of what our position is throughout the year rather than keeping the targets at the pre-pandemic levels. But we were kind of hoping things might get a little bit back to normal one day, I guess. So, and I think it's quite testament to the fact that we've still got one of the highest collection rates across the authorities. At that time we were, I think, the top performing authority. So, but there's a lot of authorities out there that do rolling 12 months, whereas I think on our council tax we do the 10 months. We've got a lot of people on the 10 months, so we collect the majority of ours within the first 10 months. But we are still one of the top performing authorities in Essex around our collection rates for council tax and business rates.
Thank you, Tracy.
Good. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor
I
Everard.
want to come back on this target date. Do we want a start date so we can see what? Okay, there've been.
Tracy.
We could. We don't always record. We have a start date that we'd like to start. It doesn't always happen in that respect, because we will say, right, we're starting this project now, but it might take time to get that resources into that project, or look at what we need to for that project. So we will always say, right, once we've had that business case agreed, we can start that project, but we don't necessarily record the start date as much as what we would the end date. So I think the focus really is around the end date and when you want to achieve it, because if you decide to start that project later, you've got less time to achieve it in anyway, haven't you? So I think the target of the end date is probably more.
You could say actual start date.
Yeah, we can. It might be difficult to put that in the actual report, like starting, but if there's any particular project that you're interested in, the start dates on, I'm sure I can get that information for you.
One of the other, building on that, one of the other things that might be applicable is if a project goes over more than 1 year, it may be more appropriate not to have a finish date, but to have a milestone date for something that's being achieved during the year. So I recognise that it may actually not be a completion date, because that may be an 18-month, 2-year project. But as a performance measurement, you want to know that you're on track. So if there's a significant milestone, that could be another alternative way of actually expressing it, as well as a finish date, if it's applicable. It's whatever applicable to the project, I guess, really.
So, yes, some of the
something
larger...
to measure it against. That's the important thing, is to have something to measure against, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the larger projects, you will find that they are broken down into phases, and you will have the end of that phase that they're working towards. So, and that will be the end date of that project, and then they'll move on to the next stage of that project. But that's, like we say, in that description as to what they're doing, it reflects the end date of that part of that work.
I think that would be satisfactory as well as an alternative. Yes, Councillor Rose.
I don't know if this is a question or not, to be honest, Tracy, but it's a very emotive subject in Britain. It's about the medical provision and facilities. And in the report here on page 47, it makes mention of New River Retail have submitted a pre-application to the planning service regarding the health facilities in Britain. Now, will that be, or will the status and progress of that be known to this committee, or where are we with that? Because that's been running around for years, and you could devote all your waking moments for that, I'm sure. But I just wonder, is that something that we're monitoring, or is that a planning issue rather than?
We're monitoring the issues really between the NHS now, and obviously they've refocused quite understandably over the last couple of years in respect to the pandemic. So it was halted. It was moving along, and then obviously it got halted because it's the NHS now that are causing the delays, and the fact that they've had to reprioritise their work around the pandemic rather than the medical centre at the moment. But it is a project that we're monitoring. I can get an update for you from the Asset Management Department that are monitoring it for you.
No, I'm sure it doesn't really need you to create more work. I just wondered that if it is on somebody's list, the status of it, would that status change? Because, I mean, as I said, it's been rolling around now for some while, and then I know the NHS don't always, I mean, there's section 106 about, but they've not even applied for it. So I don't know quite who's going to progress that. Is that going to be a contractor? Is it going to be a developer? Is it going to be somebody else like Provide or something like that, rather than Braintree District Council?
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from. Like I say, it depends really as to what they agree at the end of the process as to who's going to be sort of managing it, etc. So when we do get, well, we've got, like we say, we've got the pre-planning application in at that stage. But again, it was around sort of like how that's going to progress. We are monitoring the stages of that to make sure it gets delivered. But once it's delivered, obviously it'll be out of our hands because it'll be managed more by the NHS or the organisation that manage that medical facility.
So suffice to say then, Tracy, it is a live project.
It's a live project, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rose. Any further questions? I'll just make a comment on the complaints. It's good, obviously good to see the reduction in Q3. It's probably the lowest quarter there's been for quite some time without looking back, but from my recollection it has. So we wait to see on Q4 to see if it's sustained. But we should note that it was a very good performance during that quarter for sure. So thank you for that. Okay. Any further questions? No. Looks like we're done with that. So thank you, members. If there are no further questions for Tracy, I'll be seeking members' agreement that this report is noted. Therefore, silence will be assent. Can I please confirm that members have noted the report? Right. Silence. So yes. So I'll take that silence as assent. Thank you, members. The report is noted, and thank you once again, Tracy, for a very comprehensive report. We always give us a very good feedback, and answering most of the questions. So well done for that, and thank you for that. So the report has been noted. Okay, so where am I? So yeah. Okay, so Tracy, you're very welcome to stay with us if you wish, but if you'd like to leave the meeting, then you'll also
I'll stay.
You'll stay. Fantastic. Okay, I'm just going to have a little drop of water to loosen your throat a bit. Okay, we will now proceed to item 7, which is scrutiny of the review into commercialisation, the draft scrutiny report. Members, the report for this item is set out on pages 71 to 83 of the agenda. As chairman of the committee, I will introduce the report and then we'll take comments from members of the committee as we move through the recommendations. Members, we've had 3 evidence gathering sessions to scrutinise this topic during 2021, which is summarised in this report, and we have drawn 7 recommendations, which we'll review shortly. In conclusion, I think we've found a sound and positive approach to commercialisation within BDC, and this gives a solid base to further develop and grow commercialisation in the future. In particular, I'd like to mention the investment and development programme, which is well-structured and well-focused approach involving everyone in the organisation to drive improvements. I'm sure this approach will deliver value for money to taxpayers and in maintaining and improving services in the future. On behalf of the committee, I would like to thank our commercialisation manager, who's James Sinclair, who has supported us throughout this scrutiny and given us a good insight into this topic. So I'd like to now move through one by one through the recommendations that are contained within the report, and I'll read each one out, and then I'll take any comments or any changes or comments you have around each one, and then we'll move to move through it one by one. So recommendation number 1, the committee recognises the essential nature of the role of commercialisation manager within the organisation in driving forward future efficiency savings and increased income generation. It is therefore recommended that the council continues with this appointment on a permanent basis, a permanent full-time post of commercialisation manager. Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Sorry. Didn't we, when we discussed this before, establish that James is only in fact part-time? He's working for another entity after we. So, but are we actually? So we don't really need a full-time guy. We just need a permanent guy, don't we? Or are we turning him? Have I missed something? Didn't we agree he was half-time? I mean.
Indeed. Just to clarify on that, my understanding is that he was full-time and is now part-time. It was backfilled with another part of another person's time to make up a full-time activity in his team. But I think effectively you could argue that has diluted the resource in terms of the power of the resource in that he is no longer driving it as a full-time role.
No.
And I think us reinforcing this as a recommendation drives the council to consider it as a permanent post in the long term. That may be through this transition, if you like, it was the right decision to retain his services even if they're only part-time. But as a long-term goal, I think this recommendation reinforces that in the future it should be a full-time role. There may be at this point in time a transition they're going through that for good reason that they have to accommodate. But I think this was about reinforcing that as a long-term role. Is that? You're nodding. Would you like to clarify?
I can't really comment, to be honest, but I would agree with what you said, Councillor Radley. And the recommendation does just highlight that and just, emphasises the benefits of that role as it is and James provides. So, that's all I can really add at the moment. But
okay,
I would agree.
So does that clarify our understanding? Or?
It clarifies it. I mean, I think he's a really nice guy and he seems to have done a good job.
Yeah.
And he obviously seems to have saved us and made us money.
Yeah.
But he's doing a jolly good job part-time. So do we need to pay double the rate for having him do it? I mean, I'm just, we need someone like him. He's certainly earned his keep. But is there 5 days work a week for someone that senior to do? Could we not have a sort of more junior person, as I think we've got at the moment, helping him, haven't we?
We have in the short term. That is the short-term plug for this situation. But recognising the importance of having that role in the organisation.
Yes, I recognise that.
I think if, for example, James moved on and wasn't part-time, then my expectation through the recommendation that the council would be looking to recruit a full-time person in that role. Yeah. I think this is what that recommendation tries to reinforce as a message to the executive, but that's just try to clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, Councillor Rose.
Yes, if you read recommendation 1, Chairman, it says the commercial manager with 1 support officer. So does that support officer work with Mr. Barclay, or does he do other things and then he's called back in when we have another project to look at? Because I just wonder, if there's nobody there, are we missing opportunities?
Well, my understanding is this is a short-term fix for a particular situation that's arisen during this period. And again, it just comes back to my understanding. Obviously, if you have a different view, that's fine. That we're trying to reinforce that this council should have a full-time commercialisation manager. How you achieve that on an ongoing basis has to be an HR issue for the council and officers to work through. But it's an objective that I think we're asking the executive to buy into that as a long-term commitment. I think that's through this recommendation. Does anybody else have any other views on that?
Well, I think you're right, Chairman, because, traditionally all councils have income through precepts, and it's charges for land charges, for planning charges and whatever. Yeah. It may well be the case that councils, and now I'm sure they recognise it in BDC, is that commercialisation is the way forward, because we're not setting ourselves up as a business, but there may well be a revenue stream out there that we've not looked at that can enhance what we do as a district council and provide the income for that for the benefit of the district.
Absolutely. Yes, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to reinforce the sentiment behind our recommendation. From my memory drives me to the fact that whether our officers are full-time or part-time or ably assisted, the whole point of coming to this recommendation was not only recognising the importance of that commercialising, but the skills and effort and energy involved that. That is why this recommendation is there to say this is really important and it needs to be at least a full-time post, so it is a recommendation.
Any further comments?
Well, only just to add continuity, somebody's got to be there all the time, I think, and dealing with the problems as they arise.
The danger is that part-time now could be even more part-time, you know, if we don't reinforce the message that is important. I think that's what we're trying to avoid happening, is the dilution. Okay, so can I take it that members are happy with that recommendation as it stands? Yeah, having had the explanation? Good, okay. Thank you. So, recommendation 2, further opportunities are explored for collaborative working with other local authorities in order to build upon the success of the Shared Payroll Services Initiative. And I think that came across as a very good example, but I think this just says, good example, go for more, basically. Any comments?
Again, I think it's laid out well in the recommendation that there are other opportunities out there, and I think the essence is the collaborative working and working with other local authorities at whatever level they may be, in order to build upon the success and be a part of it. So again, I think it's a good recommendation.
Yes.
So, Councillor Everard, could you just put your...
Yes, pressure.
Procurement, I'll say it right. That's all important, and I think we do share with other councils in buying things and save money from that. So yeah, that procurement is very important.
Yeah, I mean that's another good example of what can be done. Yeah. Okay, we happy to move on with that one? Yeah, I'm seeing everybody seems to be. Recommendation 3. The costs and income across traded services at the council are examined in order to improve the net financial benefit to the organisation, especially where profit levels are low, and reviewed on a regular basis going forward to ensure that performance, and there's some words missing on the end of that, is at an acceptable level. It needs to be added onto the end of that. It's just missing as a typo. You know, we saw examples, we saw some good examples and some examples where the performance was not where we thought it should be regarding traded services. So it really, this recommendation really is to say, well, keep looking at the performance and address the areas, make sure you keep the eye on the ball in addressing the issues where the performance isn't where it needs to be, basically. And I think this is our recommendation. Any comments?
May I make
Yes, indeed.
We were talking about pest control. We have talked about pest control in the past. And I am anxious that we don't just continue doing stuff that doesn't make money, because we always have, or that we take on activities because they're there and we can and that would make us popular. But I don't think we should just get bigger and bigger and do more and more stuff just because we can, because it's very hard, as we've seen with pest control, to stop once we've got people we like doing things, especially, you know, when it's hard and they're not actually making it. And it sounds like a horrible job too, to be honest. So I wonder, I'm absolutely open to guidance on this, but I wonder whether we actually explicitly say, you know, if things are not washing their face, we should dump them, unless our constituents would be horrified that we don't offer that service, because, you know, there are plenty of private people who get rid of wasp nests and kill rats and moles and things. I mean, I don't think we should do things just because we can or have. And I wonder if we should emphasise that in this recommendation somehow or other.
Yes, I think that's a fair comment, that it kind of was there, perhaps some of the intent of this, but maybe the words could be strengthened to pick up what you're mentioning, because I think that was the spirit and intent of that, to say, you know, we need to keep an eye on the ball here. Things are not working out, either fix them or ditch them, you know. In this case, that's the spirit of what you said. So happy for us to maybe look at some words that strengthens that. Yes, Councillor Rose first, sorry.
Yes, I really agree with Councillor Courtauld there. You know, because we can, do we have to? There would be certain functions in other labouring authorities and partners who don't want to do it. And we can't pick that up because it could be quite loss-making once we get it home and suddenly realise, yeah, we could do that, but we're making top safety out of it. You know, there's no point. And other authorities may unload that because they've realised that they can't make money out of it. So I don't think we should have everything under one banner, George, do you? That just because we can do it, we should do it. And what we do at the moment, we do very well.
Needs to deliver acceptable benefits, you know, and it's so easy if you don't keep an eye on it that it could drift and you don't even know about it. So I think keeping the eye on the ball as well is an important element. Yeah, Councillor Everett.
Yeah, well, we may have services that we do, but it might be enhanced by just broadening those out a bit, you know, and help with efficiencies. That sort of opportunity, but not doing not setting up something specifically because that's an opportunity.
I think we're saying a similar sort of thing. Is there any other further comments to add to that? So I think perhaps we'll take away a task with Jess, perhaps to play with those words and strengthen them, if you like, along the sentiment that's been expressed. Okay? Right. Moving on then to recommendation 4. Further opportunities are explored to build upon the high-performance traded service areas and add new services that deliver similar benefits. This is kind of related in that it's saying, you know, let's look for future other opportunities, but making sure the performance is there with them as well. Not just looking at the current portfolio, looking to add to the portfolio, but with the proviso of delivering the benefit. Any comments?
Well, I think it just says what I said earlier, Chairman, there, that it refers to the cherry-picking approach, which is where we just need to make sure that we do pick the right cherries, if you know what I mean.
Indeed.
Rather than just get traded services that are not good.
We need some nice juicy cherries and not any bad ones. Okay. Any further comments on that? Yes, Councillor Hall.
Sorry to be hard on the same theme, but I wondered whether we could say, because I sort of, when reading this earlier, I stalled on 3 because the sentence didn't end, which you pointed out as a typo. And I thought recommendation 4 was sort of saying, it says to build upon higher performance traded services. And I was worried that what I was objecting to in the tone of recommendation 3 is that if we're empire building or, you know, that I wonder whether we could say, sorry, I can't even read it without my glasses on, I'm decaying as I say it, well, I mean, I think it's further opportunities. I approve of higher performance. You know, that's fantastic. But I'm anxious about building upon stuff unless it's adding very, very serious benefits, because I am worried that it's very hard to relinquish roles you take on, and of course no one wants to make people redundant or. You know, the momentum is hard to reverse if you just start adding stuff. So do we really want to say to build upon the? I mean, could we not say maintain or improve the higher performance trading services without necessarily building upon them? Because I'm worried we're expanding it.
I think the build upon is probably the wrong words upon reflection. I think to pick up again you said, when further opportunities are explored that can be demonstrated to deliver high performance.
Yeah, yeah,
Something
you.
like that.
Thank
Yeah?
you. Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, no, thank you for that. That's a good observation and a better outcome, I think. Thank you. Sorry, yeah. We'll tinker with those words and come up with something close along those lines. So recommendation 5 then. Council endorses the excellent approach taken by the Council. In actual fact, the recommendation, Council endorses the approach taken by the Council with the Investment and Development Programme and makes this a permanent management process going forward in order to ensure future value for money and optimisation of financial and service performance. I think the essence of this was to say, don't treat it as a hit for just to get through today, but institutionalise it for the future so it becomes an ongoing annual process. I think that's the sentiment of this. So, take any questions, sorry.
Can I just make a comment, which is I think that it is good to have these activities explained to us who are not professional investors, because some of the stuff I asked some very stupid questions, I know, because of the way it was explained. I find it completely incomprehensible, and I think if we can't understand it, who actually, are trying to look at it carefully, people who are electors, who may not even be aware of a lot of this stuff, will not understand it at all. So I think we do add. I approve of the wording of this because I think it needs to be formally looked at by the people who aren't actually executing it and initiating it, because sometimes it's quite hard to understand, and people get sort of overexcited about their own projects.
I think one of the things in recommendation, I'm not jumping ahead to 7, it actually does talk there about making sure we have that feedback coming to us. So we'll come to that in a moment. Yeah, Councillor.
Just wanted to say on what we were discussing then, I remember the Icelandic bank and
Indeed. Yes, Councillor Rose.
Yeah, I'm just mindful that, looking at Tracy's business solutions, that we don't bring these in and then we have to give them to Tracy to check that we come up with a solution. Because somebody's brain idea. We can't just say, here it is, Tracy, deal with that. I don't think that's quite the way we should be doing that. I'm all for solutions, because I used to say when I was in business, don't bring me problems, bring me a solution. Yeah, no. I know what the problems are. Yeah. But I just wonder that we can't just drop these no chance ideas in and expect a business solutions manager to form it into a good idea.
I think the whole approach on that is to have a hopper of ideas, and from that hopper of ideas, you work through that hopper of ideas. Some gets thrown out, and some get taken forward. I think that process is a good process, provided you have that management structure that actually says, well, okay, we'll look at it. If it don't fly, well, reject it and let's move on to something else. But it's the process of getting ideas in and regurgitating them and making decisions on them, and out of that will come some good ones.
Well, there's no such thing as a bad idea, Chair, and just that some are better than others, aren't they?
Indeed, you're absolutely right. Okay, any further questions on this one? Okay. So, recommendation 6 then, As part of a more strategic approach, the Council considers exploring any opportunities for more radical approaches to commercialisation, such as partnerships or setting up commercial operations. This is kind of coming from a little bit the example that James gave us about Colchester was one of them. They had some in particular. There may be things that, you know, if explored, could be bring us a different angle to supplement what the rest of the programme. I think that's what this was recommendation was about. Yes, Councillor Rose.
The only word I struggle with there, Chairman, is the word radical. I just wondered if we could put something else in there. Something like exploring any opportunities for a more, some sort of business approach to commercialisation.
Sorry, alternative approach? To explore
I don't know what
alternative approaches.
Do we need to use the word radical?
No. What would you for?
Well, we could replace more radical with specific alternative approaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or shall we could use innovative?
Innovative approach.
Actually, you want to be known as radical, Peter.
Innovative. Can't say the word. Terrible.
Yeah, I did suffer earlier.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Actually, that's a good point. Okay, we'll have that to our little shopping list to review.
Chairman, could I
Of course.
mention another word?
Yeah.
The paragraph below is part of our recommendation, isn't it? The committee acknowledges, and the use of this word.
I think it's background. I think it's supporting comments rather than it's not the recommendation. It's a supporting explanation. I think to support the reasoning. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, so just to give a bit of background to the recommendation.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah.
2/3 of the way down, we use the word amplify its own activities, i.e., our activities. Amplify our activities, which seems to me means magnify or add to or increase. So, shall I read it out? So, it is the committee therefore recognises the value of learning from projects and activities undertaken by other local authorities.
Yeah.
Brackets, blah, 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 in order to amplify its own activities and identify new potential opportunities. Well, amplify means increase, effectively, or add to. I think enhance or make the most of or best out of or something. But amplify, yet again, implies increasing our ever-widening activities. And I'm just worried, I am worried that district councils are trying to do too much in some. And I don't really, you may all disagree with me, but I don't really want to amplify our activities.
Enhance sounds a good word. I'm having a few nods on enhance.
Brilliant. Sorry to be so finicky.
Not at all. That's what we're here for. Yeah, it's good to... Okay. I think then, if no further comments on recommendation 6, we'll move to the last one, which is recommendation 7. And this really comes back on the investment and development programme, and really say that there is a role for this committee in terms of scrutinising that as a programme. And this really says that we should do that perhaps around about pre-budget time or something like that. Once a year would be enable us to keep an eye on the ball, if you like. So that's what this recommendation is. Any comments? Okay. It sounds like everybody's happy with that one.
No, Chairman, it's just that we had this £1.6 million budget gap.
Yeah.
It's not something we would readily recognise as a local authority, but nevertheless it's there.
Yes.
And we've now put the process in place to try and bring that together, which we have.
Indeed, yes.
So I think that does cover that in there.
Good. Okay. I think the 1.6 is now 1.2 or something like that. But nevertheless, it's still significant. Okay. Good. Okay. Well, thank you for that input there, because I think that's helped to fine-tune, if you like, those recommendations into something that hopefully will be seen as constructive. All right, so does anybody have any further questions on this topic? I think before we take a vote on that. Right. If there are no more comments to be made in respect to this report, we have been asked to formally, number one, review the draft report and to finalise the content of draft recommendations to ensure they are in keeping with the terms of reference of the scrutiny review and the evidence gathered. And point number two, authorise the chairman to finalise the draft report prior to its submission to Cabinet and then to full council, and to give authority to governance officers to make the necessary administrative changes to the report. So, is there any member that wishes to move these recommendations?
Yes, I move, Chairman.
You will. Councillor Rose, thank you for moving those 2 points.
Doing, it's well worth doing. And it's done
Absolutely.
well.
Would anybody like to second that? Yeah, Councillor Raymond?
Yes.
Okay. So, the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Does anybody wish to speak on this before? No? In which case we'll take a vote on that. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Right. Now, members, the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Oh, no, I've just done that bit. Sorry. Thank you, members. The recommendations are approved. And I will proceed to item 8, which is urgent business. Members, there is no urgent business for this evening. This item, as there's no urgent business tonight, this item concludes our business for this evening. I'd therefore like to close the Performance Management Scrutiny Committee meeting at 20:32. Thank you for attendance this evening and for those watching the broadcast via the Council's YouTube channel. Thank you.